So, first of all, the AI Alliance was originally formed by IBM and Meta, and actually 50 other companies back when ChatGPT first came out, and we were worried that there would be no open source options. So, about 2 years ago, that was a real threat, and it still is sort of, but there are many LLMs now that are doing quite well, and open source options from Meta, but also from other companies and countries even. So that is not as near threat as it was, and so we decided to branch out and go after and support open source for AI in a variety of ways. And so if you check out our GitHub repo, you'll see there's quite a few projects there. Other than this one of my favorites is called Semiont, and it is, the way I describe it, it's sort of like if you were to take a wiki and make it useful for both humans and AI agents, what would that do? Like, what would that look like? And the guy who's leading the project, they're putting like an ontology onto it. So when you describe what's important to you, and then when you go and ask questions of the content, it's using your own context to ask questions. But then the AI agents can also use that same context when trying to ask questions on your behalf. It's a very interesting project, but this project is a much simpler project, and it's really nothing groundbreaking, but I think it's going to be really useful for this presentation. So that's how I'd start here. So what is AlleyCat? AlleyCat was originally called Alliance Chat, and it was meant to be a way to scrape the AI Alliance website and give visitors a way to ask questions through a simple RAG interface. Okay, and most of you probably know what RAG is, right? Please say yes. Okay, all right. Okay, good. So RAG is, I guess somebody can say you could use it as an agent, but I don't think of it that way. I think of maybe it's an agent, but it's not an AI agent, right? It's doing something very specific. In fact, I have a diagram here that I wanted to show you. Oops. Yeah, I'm not going to try to get too clever here. But in the diagram, this is going to set the stage. So I thought I'd share with you. You have a person who's going to ask questions of the website. They type in the prompt. Prompt gets turned into an array. That array gets sent to a vector database where it then looks for similar arrays in the vector database. It returns some number of arrays that is then used as a context for the question to be asked of. And then those rows or arrays get sent along with the prompt to the LLM, and then the LLM will answer the question and give back an answer, right? Okay, we're all good there. All right. So, but where does the data come from? Okay, so we decided to also build the scraping mechanism. So you can scrape your website, or you can scrape a bunch of PDF files in like an Amazon S3 bucket or something, and it will take all that content, pull out the HTML from, well, first of all, it'll crawl the website, grab the URLs. It'll then scrape the content from each page, split it all into chunks. It'll then vectorize the chunks to create the vector embeddings and put that content into the vector database. Okay, so now we got both sides of the website, of the chat. You got the actual interface to the chat, and then the actual content being put into the vector database, right? So now what we have is just simply a chat interface. Now, is there anything agentic about this? Anybody? Not really, because it's always doing the same thing, right? It's always just taking the prompt, vectorizing it, and sending it to the vector database. There's no decision tree. But for something to be an agent, it's really got to be like thinking like a human, trying to evaluate, what should I be doing with this content, right, or this question? And maybe there's multiple paths it can take, or even multiple workflows it can take, and it needs to figure that out for you. And so what I thought we could do is talk about, well, okay, what would that look like in the context of this session, of this event? We want to use memory. Where does memory fit into that? So if we're going to take AlleyCat, which by the way we are turning this into an agent workshop where we're going to start with RAG, and we're gonna take the developers who attend the workshop and take them through the process of actually building an actual advanced agent, something you can actually put into production in your company. And we have an example of that, which we lead you through, which is the deep research agent. Okay. What I thought I would do is just, let's have an interactive session here. And I'd like Gowrie to come up and join me. She can be my, well, we're both gonna play dumb, and then invite you to help us solve this riddle. So first of all, I'm gonna ask Gowrie, what would you call that step where the question is, the question comes to the web page here, and it has to decide, I've got a prompt, which is the question, and I've got multiple paths I can go. What would you call that step where it decides what to do?
In very technical,
Remember, we're supposed to be thinking up.
oh yes. I would call it in a less technical way, but decision to be made between choosing which way to go next.
Okay, how about you? We're gonna change this to audience participation. We're gonna bring down, but we're gonna help you, the audience, they're smarter than us, it's two people, right? So what would you call that? What's that step? Yes.
Planning.
Planning, okay, I definitely heard that word in context of that step. Okay. What else? I think there might be maybe one other word. Triage. Yeah, I haven't heard that word, but I just want to know what you mean. I think we can use that word too. Reasoning. Those are the two. Okay, but I was thinking triage, I think maybe is the whole thing, right? But reasoning. So first of all, what is this? What do we do with this? Right? And then once you figure out what you might want to do, then there's planning. Right? Okay, so the next step that we would do in our workshop is we would say, okay, we need to figure out, the reasoning step, and then we need to do the planning. Now, in this case, does reasoning make sense? You're always doing the same thing. The plan is already done. So there's no choices. But let's say we took the content of this web page, which is basically sitting in that vector database, and we turn that into an MCP. So now when the question comes in, maybe we have MCPs for multiple websites. Now the reasoning could be, I've got a prompt, which website has the answers? How many of you have worked with MCP before? Oh, lots. Okay. Who wants to answer the question if you have multiple MCPs, maybe with content from multiple websites? Well, what would you do? Again, I'm playing that. I don't know how this works. So you gotta help us. I heard somebody trying to answer it, but I can't understand the answer. Is that you? Yeah, well, who spoke out? Somebody just said something.
I would try to maybe put it all in and then search through it.
Okay. Where would the LLM play a role?
After I retrieve the candidates.
Okay, so how does the MCPs play with the LLM? Anybody, if you work with MCPs, you probably know this answer.
That's a good point.
As an endpoint, okay. So the question comes in, you're gonna do some reasoning. The reasoning is, where do I go to get the answer, right?
True calling.
Tool calling, there you go. And so how does tool calling work?
Call the MCP.
Yeah, I've heard it described multiple ways, but yeah, the model besides its MCP is gonna have the right one with the answer, right? So the model is gonna say, you just asked this question, I'm gonna look at which one of the MCP's descriptions, and it's gonna and decide which one is most likely gonna give me the answer, right?
Yeah.
So the reasoning is really by calling the model with the prompt and saying, hey, which tool should I call, right? Are we all on board here? Okay, all right, cool. Some of you are like, yeah, okay, I get it, right? Others, I don't think you've been through this, so I hope hopefully this is starting to make sense. You pass the reasoning question to the LLM and let the LLM basically make the decision. And there's a lot going on there that's really powerful, and I think that that's something that every developer who's building an agent should understand, so it's basically MCP tool line, right, in this step, right? So now, how about the workflow? So right now, we've chosen between, we're choosing one of many MCPs, and then we answer back, and we give it to the user. So there's not a lot of planning yet. The plan is call one MCP. Right, now I think it actually gets a little more complicated. When you start getting to planning multiple steps, and we're not gonna go down that path right now, because I think that's just too much for what we have to cover, but. Where does memory come in? You're gonna, let's say we have 4 options, so we got some planning, okay? You know, 2 MCPs, you can call one or the other or both in 2 options, no order, so that's 4, right? Somebody asked a question. I was gonna bring up the image, I forgot to bring it up, but there's. What are the different, where does memory play a role in this? This workshop that we're gonna build?
I think of it this way. Brand gives the agent the answer to what it's looking for, but memory makes it remember what it's supposed to know. And what I mean by that is, I think in this diagram, memory will come somewhere, where's the,
Here's the question.
yeah. So memory will come somewhere here as,
Right when the question is asked.
yes, right when the question is asked, the agent will go look into the memory to find relevant details. And once it finds relevant details, that query will be augmented with all of the relevant details, so that every response that you get from the agent is more context aware. So I think of it this way.
Well, okay, so in this use case, we're literally solving the problem of you asked a question about the AI Alliance, we have many projects. So somebody might ask, which project, somebody might say, I'm a Python developer and I have used this, let's say the long index framework.
Yeah.
Long index is one of our, and so you would remember that.
Yes, so the user will ask, I'm a Python developer, I have experience working with Llama Index, which tools that are part of AI Alliance can I use for this particular project that I'm working on? And the RAG will fetch relevant information from the knowledge base and give it an answer. The next time the user comes in, the user won't have to tell he's a Python developer, they've worked with Llama Index, or even the project that they worked on before. The memory will remember everything. The user can just say something like, where did we leave work on this last time? Let's pick it up. And the memory will remember what the user knows, what the user has been working on, the RAG results that they looked at previously, and they can just resume working from there. So with just RAG, every independent question is like a first date. You need to make all of the introductions, set up the context, do everything for every RAG query. But with memory, it just brings continuity, context, and relevance to every query.
Yeah, the way we built it so far is every single time you ask a question, it thinks it's seen you for the first time.
Exactly.
Right? So I think in your image that you showed earlier today, it's a short term and long term. So short term would be what, during this conversation?
Yes.
Remember some short term things, like whenever I said I am a Python developer, I'd say, oh, let's keep this information about you, to remember that about you,
Yes.
right?
And then that information about the user will be saved in what we now call the profile memory, but that just says things like user preferences, what they like to, in this case, their preferred coding language, the way they like responses from the RAG chatbot, things like that.
Yeah.
And then in the long-term memory, we can store information like their progress so far in this project or some other project that they've worked on. The long-term relevance.
Like, for example, we're gonna add events to our website, and it might remember, maybe you say, at some point you say, I live in Mountain View. and then it would remember that.
Yes.
And then in the future, you might ask, what events are interesting today? And it would know, oh, well, since you're in Mountain View, let's look locally. And then also it would say, but this is one problem I'd love for somebody to solve. Oh, since you're in Mountain View, you're in this time zone, here are the online events that are appropriate for your time zone during your life, right? You just know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the long and short.
Yeah, so in this case, the fact that the user does account with you will be stored in the profile memory, and then a tool, an MCP tool that does web search and looks for all of these events, will then know what events to look for. Otherwise, it will just look for all the events, right? But now with this information, the result will be more enriched and relevant.
Okay. All right, well, I just wanted to kind of take you down that path, because that's actually what we're doing right now as a workshop, is we're building out these steps so people can learn. As we are, basically. And yeah, and just to give you a little taste of where we're going is, we're trying to get this to the point where, for deep research at least, it's production ready. Like by the time in the workshop, you are asking a series of questions, and it's able to, in the use case that we're focused on first, it's you pass a financial instrument like stock symbol or something like that, and it's gonna go deep research on that item for just today, like here's what's happening now. And then, we would use a short-term memory for that. And then we could add the long-term memory for when they come back and ask questions about maybe another financial instrument that relates to that one, or maybe they ask about the same one and compare and contrast and say, well, the market has changed since the last time you were here. Yeah, so we'll be doing that. And then where we plan to take this workshop is, we want to go somewhere where nobody's gone yet. We're this is Silicon Valley. Right now, I feel like we're playing catch up in this workshop, but where we want to go is where no people have gone yet. That is, what if you do some deep research and it comes back with a list of things that you're interested in, and you just want it to go ahead and transact for you. But it comes back with a list of things that you've never thought of before, never heard of before. And you just want to go ahead and go find another API or MCP or agent and just get the work done. Don't even come back and ask them, right? There will become a time, probably in the next few years, where that's a reality. A good example of this, that somebody already started building, is they want to buy gifts for people they know well. Because you're constantly doing this, right? Yeah, I probably over 10 people in my life who I'm every year buying something for, and I know them really well. So every time you buy, I can remember these things, and then you can just tell it like a concierge. Look, just within this parameters, just go buy it. Surprising. These days you can return things pretty well. So it's actually a much more likely, it could be more likely, maybe, that it can just go buy something. It's more likely to save you time by just buying it. And then on the off chance it's not good enough, you return it. Right? Amazon's really good at that. But anyway, those kind of things where there's not a lot of danger. Another one that I'm personally very interested in is, you want to go to an event like this, and you want to find people that you are interested in, have a little chat with them or their bot maybe, and then figure out, oh, looks like you really should be having a conversation. Let's just schedule a meeting, like a short little, 5-minute or 10-minute during lunch or something, right? Very low risk, yet it's doing a lot of high value work. Right? So we want to take it that direction, that agents actually figure out how to transact on your behalf. And what does that look like? What are the challenges you have to overcome, like trust and personal information, all that kind of stuff. So that's where we will be going. I'm working with a guy named two people, Suji Banyam, who just gave a workshop of that QCon, and then also Mike Prince, who is working on a project called Matchwise. So we're using their experiences to build this workshop. We're not just going to make it.